Hello and welcome to the Ultimate Insiders. I'm Jill,
And I'm Katie.
and today we're talking this. We're going to words are hard. We're going to be talking about episode
You and I have both
7.
had a week
Yeah, no,
too.
it's
It's been a week.
it's been rough. So today we're going to talk about episode 7 of Gossip Girl, season 1, called Victor Victrola, which is a play on words from Victor Victoria, which is an amazing musical / movie / whatever with, I believe Julie Andrews was in the movie. I could be wrong with that. I think she may have just been on Broadway. And
Yeah, she is.
she is? Okay.
Season 1, episode 7, Victor Victrola, debuted November 7th, 2007. And the synopsis is: after surviving the on again, off again nature of their new relationship, Serena and Dan finally acknowledge that they are crazy about each other, despite their polar opposite worlds constantly threaten to pull them apart. Chuck contemplates investing in a burlesque club in the hopes of making his hard to please father, Bart, proud of him. Nate confronts his father, the captain, about the drugs he found in the house, but his father denies having a problem. Jenny discovers a secret her father, Rufus, and mother, Allison, have been keeping from her. Serena and Dan sleep together for the first time. Finally, Blair is once again devastated by Nate's actions after Jenny reveals that Nate kissed her by accident, thinking she was Serena. Blair has sex with Chuck, Nate's best friend. Way to spoil
I
it!
know. Okay, but do Dan and
Wikipedia.
Serena actually sleep together?
I think so. That's what I was trying to figure out because I feel like in my memory,
Yeah.
the first time they have sex is like over Christmas break when he's like, Christmas should be white, Christmas should be
Yeah,
snowing.
and
And I'm
she
like,
does
when does it ever snow on Christmas? I feel like Christmas is the very beginning of winter. Like it's literally 4 days after the solstice or like
when does it
3 days
ever
after the
snow on
solstice.
Christmas? In my world, it snows right before Christmas and then right after. Always.
My first note is Kristen Bell sounds like she's got a cold in her voiceover
Sometimes she
at the
does.
beginning.
Sometimes she does. Like you
I'm
can kind
like,
of pick up on it sometimes. I have the way that I love Blair. I love her. It's also just like the way that I love Leighton Meester. Love her.
well, it's like it's Chuck has invited Blair over. I have a whole question about Victrola.
Yeah.
First of all, let me start.
Yeah.
I find burlesque to be so interesting. Like
I
I'm
love
kind of
burlesque.
obsessed. I wish I knew more.
Amazing.
I've never been to a burlesque club. I want to go so bad once
Let's go to
it's
one.
safe to
We're
do
gonna go
so.
to one.
Yes, we should. But like, what exactly is Chuck pitching? This business clearly already exists. Is he trying to buy
Invest
it? Is he
in
trying
it.
to buy into it?
I think he's buying it. Like I think that it's like his dad investing money into it, like buying it.
Well, I want to know who owns it already.
Someone.
Why don't we see that person?
Because it doesn't matter.
I'm interested in who owns Victrola.
See,
Also, Chuck is just skipping school to give his father a business plan. This man is 16, 17 years old. No. No.
I'm looking up.
Just no. Is it real? Does it exist?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, is it like how the Empire is?
Yeah.
How the Empire actually exists?
Yeah. Adult Entertainment Club in New York City. Like I knew that. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Anyways, and then so there's this whole thing where Chuck is working to buy Victrola because he thinks it's a real, and I think I agree with him. I think it's a great investment opportunity because sex sells. People are going to pay for that shit. I would pay to go to a burlesque show. Like, I think that it has such a wide range of an audience. And I think that enough people would pay to do it. And I think that if you were to like rebrand it, revamp it, I think it's a great investment opportunity. So I agreed with Chuck. I was a big fan of that. Like I think that he was killing it in this episode with that idea. And I love how excited Bart got. Like that made me so like the second Chuck was like, I have a
He's like, ooh, a business.
Bart was like, I'm impressed. And I loved that. It made me so happy. Ugh, I loved it. But I also have written down though, I have Chuck really thinks his dad is going to invest in a burlesque club because I went into this like knowing Bart as a human being anyways. And so like I
What
think
does Bart do?
what does he do? He's a real estate mogul guy.
Oh, did we have this conversation
I
already on this show about what Bart does?
he mentioned it because yeah, he's a real estate like broker or real estate mogul. I don't
Is
know.
he supposed to be Donald Trump?
No, he's supposed to be like Trump because Trump exists in this universe. So
Oh, because Ivanka exists also.
yeah, and they mentioned Trump like a few times.
They also say like Ivana too. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, the first wife.
Yeah. But
Okay, and then we immediately see.
oh no,
Wait,
no,
are you done with
hold on,
Victrola?
hold on.
Okay, go.
I like went into this knowing Bart anyways and knowing the types of like businesses that he invests in because I've seen this show. And so it's like the second that I rewatch it and I'm like, Chuck, there's no way in hell your dad is gonna do this. Like, there's absolutely no way. Like, he may be excited about like the prospect of his son wanting to do what he does, but like the second he learns that it's like a burlesque club, he's like, no, you're just using this as a way to stay close to women, which isn't entirely wrong. And Chuck gets offended at that. And I'm like, but is he wrong? Like, I do think that Chuck has like multiple reasons for doing this. I do think that one of them is because he wants to get involved in what his dad does and he does want the life that his dad has. But then there's like that 16-year-old, 17-year-old mentality of how can I get women? Like, what's like the best way that I can get women? Invest in a club. Like, and so I think that it's just like a whole thing. But yeah, there was no way in hell the second he brought this up, there was no way that Bart was gonna invest in it. Absolutely no way.
And that okay, agree. Like, but his dad eventually is like, cool, yeah, I'll hear you out.
Right. And I mean,
But
and he
speaking
does
of
go
like
to look at it.
shitty dads,
Yep.
speaking of shitty dads,
Yep.
we see Nate talk to the captain because what his mom Anne wants to like send him to like a treatment center, and then she leaves the room, and Nate's just like, "Excuse me, not happening. You and I both know this is not it." And then the captain, Harold, that's his name, Harold Howard, whatever his name is,
Howard.
he goes, and this is so cringy. He goes, I've landed the Waldorf account, and my son has landed the Waldorf.
Oh,
Puke. I hate that.
it's so gross. Okay. Every time I watch Gossip Girl, Howard gets creepier and creepier. Like there is just like I've never liked the captain. When I was a kid, I was like, this man needs to go to jail. He does. But I was like, this man needs to go to prison. I don't like him. He makes me uncomfy. And as an adult, I still feel that way. I don't like him. And I literally have like 3 separate times. I hate the captain. I hate him so much because, and this also plays into Nate being like one of, if not my absolute favorite characters. I just want the best for Nate. And so like anytime anyone screws him over, especially his own father, I get so angry. Like it makes my blood boil. I cannot stand it. And like the whole thing that bothers me the most is he sits there, he blatantly bold-faced lies to his own son constantly throughout the whole episode. He literally looks Nate in the eyes and says, no, it was a one-time thing. I was just trying it out just to
Yeah,
see.
one of the guys at the office was like, hey, you might need a pick me up.
Yeah. And Nate's like, okay, if you promise you're done, because Nate is so trusting of every human being on the planet. And it's like his fatal flaw. And so he trusts his dad. His dad leaves. He follows his dad to the club, watches a drug deal go down between his father and another guy at the club. And then, like, it's like the whole thing, like, that's so much for a teenager. Like, that is a lot to handle, especially knowing that his own mother doesn't even trust him because his dad threw him under the bus. Like that, oh my god, it makes me so angry. Like every time I think about it, it makes me so mad. And And then they go to the party, whatever the hell, the dinner at the Waldorfs, for like the contract stuff to celebrate. And he walks his dad out. He's like, come on, dad, let's go smoke some cigars. Because his dad's hopped the fuck up. Like, his dad is like a mess. So he's like, come on, dad, let's go smoke those cigars late that we brought. Come on. And so him and his dad go outside and they get in this huge fight. His dad punches him. His own dad hits him. And then a cop comes up and is like, hey, is everything okay? And Nate's like, no, check his pockets. Like, icon. Are you kidding me? That's fucking, like,
Yeah.
I love it. Like, I love Nate.
And then he like slips the doorman like a 20, or I'm sure it's like a 50 or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's
he's like, my dad was never
my
out.
father went home.
Yeah, my dad was home. He was sick. He was never out here with me. None of that happened. And I'm like, the way that this teenager is better at protecting his family than both of his parents are. And that's nuts. Like, that's fucking crazy. And then one of my favorite
Go to
storylines
school.
of this whole episode is Dan and Serena, because it's a mess. Their whole plot line in this episode is a mess. Like they're making out.
They're just like, they make out against like the thing, and they're like, oh, well, if we pay so much tuition, they should give us like a soft place to make out. Also, why are the minions live streaming? That's so gross.
They weren't live streaming it. They just filmed it and sent it to Blair, because then Blair even said they haven't streamed it yet. Because like she said they were streaming it, and then Serena's like, come on. And she's like, not yet anyways. Because like I thought that was weird, and then she said that and I was like, oh, okay. But that's still ew. Gross.
It's gross. Okay, but like, okay, backing up to that school area, we see like Jenny, Jenny walks through that school. She's holding a purse. That purse clearly empty. There's not a goddamn thing in that purse. Put a cell phone in there. Add some sort of weight. It's pointless. Everything needs a utility.
No!
Yes.
No, you are wrong. Some things are
I'm not wrong.
Function. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you're just gonna hold a purse with nothing in it? What are you, 7?
This?
Even at
never
7.
Has anything in it. Never has anything in it.
Put a chapstick in there. Even when I was 7 years old, 8 years old, my little denim jean purse that my aunt bought me, I put my chapstick in there, my lip smackers.
Nope. I was at TJ Maxx yesterday with my roommate, and I saw a big ass bag, and I said, I want that. And I was like, I don't have anything to put in it. I just want it because I like big bags. I think they look really cute. I like them. I'm also obsessed with this new mini purse trend. I'm obsessed with it because I'm like, I don't need an excuse to have to carry anything. It's just a mini purse and it's cute.
Yeah. But so Jenny runs into Nate, and Nate's like, hey, you know nothing I said at the ball, or at the, what is it? The dance? Yeah. She's, no, I didn't mean any of that, right? Like, you know that. I didn't mean any of that. I'm not still in love with Serena. Serena likes your brother. I don't want anything. He is floundering, and she's just like, sure.
My favorite part of that is he goes up to her and says, hey, Serena, right? And she's like, ha, 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 yeah, funny.
She's like, I've been caught. It
made me laugh so freaking hard. I wrote something about it. Where was it?
I don't know.
Oh, I said, call Jenny out, Nate. That was like in my head. I was like, call her out.
And then, so he's like, just don't say anything. And brings her chocolates. And then the moment Blair gets there, hands Blair the chocolates. And I'm like, excuse me, I would like those chocolates back. Thank you. Because Blair doesn't even appreciate it. She's like, the gold collection is my favorite. But thank you. Mwah.
She still loves them because they're from him.
And then Jenny's like, I'm gonna leave this love fest because this is awkward. And then Blair goes and follows her. And my first thought was, why does Blair look like Snow White with this red headband and blue and yellow trimmed blazer? Girl's looking like Snow White.
She literally does though.
Tell me I'm wrong. You can't.
My favorite thing though about this like whole scene is so as we know, I don't like the Humphreys, but there are those times when like I don't hate them. And this episode, I don't really hate Dan. I'm just uncomfortable with him for most of the episode. But this is one of those scenes where I don't feel bad for Jenny because everything that happened, she brought on herself. Just saying. She snuck into that masquerade
She
ball.
did not bring Nate kissing her on herself.
She could have
She just
stopped
wanted
him.
to be at the ball.
She could have. No, 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 no. He said, if you don't stop me right now, I'm going to kiss you. What did she do? She let him continue. She let him kiss her.
Okay, I don't blame her for that because sometimes when it's like a really awkward situation, I shut down. I truly do.
Which
If
is
I'm like
fair,
hyper
but
stressed, I shut down.
that's fair. But the
One
second
time I
he
was in a
said
hotel in
Serena,
San
she could have stopped.
Francisco.
The second he came up to her and
Yeah,
said Serena, she should have stopped him.
I guess. One time I was in a hotel in San
What?
Francisco
Don't show up
and these
looking like
people just like,
Serena.
it's not like she did it on purpose. She didn't know what color Sabrina's dress was going to be.
It's the
Then
same
Sabrina
exact dress as
handed her
Serena.
all of
It
her
was the
shit.
same dress. It was the same dress, same mask. What are you talking about?
It was different. It was different masks, I think. Different dress because that dress apparently came from Bam and it's Vanessa's hookup at Bam. At Bam, not Vam. Anyway.
If they were similar enough for them to genuinely believe it, I'm sorry, but I just like I don't know. I blame Jenny. I don't care. I don't like how the situation was handled. She could have done so many things.
She's also 14.
Okay, well then don't show up to a party that's not meant for you. You weren't invited. Don't show up. I'm sorry. You were clearly, Blair said, this is for upperclassmen. That's what the party's for. Don't show up. All of this could have been avoided.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
But then then we like anyway, so then we like flash forward to like Dan is asleep. Just like in his bed. Yeah. In the middle of the day, like full on middle of the day, home from school, and I'm like, it is broad daylight outside. This is supposed to be in November. It would be dark by the time you get home from school.
That was when it aired. That doesn't mean that's when it took place. Because it's no.
You know they air supposing.
Earlier in the school year though.
It would not be that bright outside when you get off work or get off school.
Yeah, it would. I've had many a days where it's that bright outside.
What time do you think that their school ends?
Like 3 at the latest. And it would take him about an hour to get home.
And he's okay, an hour. Okay, so 3, 4 hour to get home takes you to 4 full time to take a nap.
4 and 5. Well, who knows how long he's been asleep? We don't know.
Reading the Kama Sutra, then taking a nap. There's no way it'd be broad daylight outside. Anyway,
you don't know the timeline. We don't know what time of the day it is. We don't.
They're also further north than you and I are.
But their loft is very well lit.
But then you flash. Then they flash to Nate being outside on the phone checking on his dad. That's when he snoops on his dad and sees the drug deal happen. And it is still broad daylight.
Yeah, we've been over this. We never know the timeline of what time of day these things are happening. They never actually tell us.
That's par for the course for any TV show. It feels like in any TV show, these people have endless amounts of time in a day.
Well, yeah.
Like I remember watching Teen Wolf when I was in high school and being like, how do they have so much time
Teen Wolf
getting
was,
home to when their parents get home?
Days. Like they had like that. Teen Wolf was a mess. I loved it, but it was a mess.
I only watched it for a little bit and then I stopped.
My boyfriend in high school was like obsessed with it, so I watched it. If that tells you anything about my life in high school. And then I hate Vanessa. I didn't really have a lot to say about Vanessa. She just pissed me off in this episode. She does in every episode.
Vanessa is like shaming Dan for wanting to sleep with Serena.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's my girlfriend.
I wrote down.
I get his reasoning. He's like, you're right. Back then, nobody wanted to have sex with me.
Right.
Now somebody does.
I wrote down, because this made me laugh, when Blair and Serena were talking on the steps about how Serena and Dan haven't slept together yet, Serena was like low-key shaming him for being a virgin. And I was like, pardon him for being a virgin.
Also, Blair is right there, and she is also.
I mean, I guess like in hindsight, society-wise, I don't believe this. Society-wise, it is a little bit weirder, air quotes, because again, I don't believe this, for like a man to still be a virgin versus a girl. You know what I mean? Like, because society's fucked up. That's kind of, a lot of people are like, oh, men are just having sex at like 14 and then that's it. Like, that's like, but
Which
also
is wild. Have you met a 14-year-old?
there's a lot of, there's a lot of 14-year-olds having sex. What are you talking about?
I guess I was just very, no one I knew really had sex until college.
Can't relate.
I'm not kidding.
I'm outing all my friends. I love them, but they're a mess.
I think all my friends waited until, not like they waited like purposely, but
That's
just like
happened.
that's how it happened.
Right. My favorite thing on the planet is like whenever I think about how in Gossip Girl, like it was almost like you didn't even have to talk about sex. You just knew who had sex and who didn't. But then like when it came to Dan, everyone was like, has he? Like, you know, it always makes me laugh because like Dan is so mysterious in like the weirdest ways. Like he's a pretty, like, you kind of just know who Dan is. You kind of just know what he's about. But then when it comes to certain things, you're just like, does he? Is he? It's the weirdest thing to me. I don't understand it. But like, yeah, this whole thing, it made me laugh, sorry, because I was like, excuse him for being a virgin. Pardon him.
But also, he's just like, I thought you wanted to wait until you were in love, and it's like, how do you know he isn't?
Right, like, yeah. And so like the whole thing with like, I mean, Serena was shaming him to Blair, and then Vanessa was shaming him to his face. And I'm like, we get it, Vanessa. You wish that you were the one sleeping with him. We get it. Like, we understand that now. You've said it multiple times, and you've alluded to this many a time. So like, just relax a little bit because he's not dating you. He's dating Serena. Like, calm down. So yeah, she just pissed me off.
Then there's the dinner between the Waldorfs and the Archibalds,
Yeah.
and it's like, I would hate a note here. I would hate to live this life of pressure and commitments and obligations. Why does Blair want to be engaged so goddamn bad?
Well, here's what I thought was odd. When she was talking to Jenny, she was like, I always knew that Nate was the one I was gonna marry. I mean, we may have been kids. They were like in kindergarten. And she was like, I just always knew that he was the one I was gonna
They're
marry.
still kids.
But like kindergarten, Katie, versus 17.
Children.
They were children. And also you have to think about it, like in retrospect, with like the way that they live, they think that they're adults. So like they think that they're like, I mean, they go for drinks after school every day. Like they're
That's the thing, is like,
ever been.
I know even like for high school, like the average high schooler, you want to be grown up so goddamn bad.
Yeah.
You want, because and it's more of like, you want to just be respected and like acknowledged. But like, it just, I
Well,
hate it so much. It's like, these pressures that
Blair's
these people are putting on their children and on themselves.
But Blair's thing is more so, I understand where Blair's coming from because she and I are very, like, I'm very similar to how Blair's mind works and how, like, she is. So, like, her thing is she wants to be settled. She wants to have her life figured out. She wants everything planned to a T. And if that means getting engaged right after high school, so be it. She wants to make sure that she is set. And I understand
It's
that.
such a small town thing to do, though. Like, for city kids, that is such a small town thing to do.
Not necessarily, because if you think about it, I mean, they all are going to end up marrying each other anyways, because that's how they work. So like, it's very incestuous within like the groups of people. Like within these families, it's very incestuous. So it's like Blair's gonna end up marrying Chuck or Nate either way. That's just the fact of the matter. So it's like, why not just go on and do it? If her life is set, like she's like, and she even says, I think it's in a few episodes or in season 2, I can't remember. She says her life plan was always high school graduation, engaged, Yale, married to Nate, kids. That was just what.
I hate that.
Well, because she wanted to be a socialite. She didn't want to have to work. She wanted to be Jackie O. She didn't want to be how her mom was. Like, she didn't want to have to work for everything.
I guess. I don't know. Personally, that's not a life I want.
Oh, God, no. I don't know. No. I mean, I want to be like set for life. I just don't want to. I don't want to have to like commit to people.
I don't know. It's
that.
just
I have the worst commitment issues. I hate saying that, but it's the fact of the matter. Like, I can't commit to anything. No, thank you.
so at this dinner, eventually Nate and Blair break up. Why do they break up?
They don't officially break up. She says, "Do you love me?" And he doesn't respond. They didn't break up yet. It's coming, but it's not there yet. But then she says they break up, but like Nate doesn't believe that because, well, we don't see that yet. That happens in the next episode. But Nate doesn't believe that. So like he thinks that it's just like a pause kind of a thing. But she doesn't believe that. She thinks it's a breakup. So she hops in his car, takes it to Victrola where he was supposed to meet Chuck. And then she gets out of the car and he's like, "Where's Nate?" And she's like, "Yeah, we broke up." And then just walks to Victrola with him. And
then she's sitting there with like a glass of champagne and is like, I got moves. And he's like, "Yeah, sure you do." And
then he goes, and I get up there and show me. And she's like, "No, I'm just saying, I can do it." I am. And
then she does go. First of all, she does go up there, and I feel like she's a minor. That's illegal. I feel like she doesn't like fully. We don't see her fully stripped.
No, I don't think so. It's a strip,
but I feel it still feels illegal. But then, how do the burlesque performers not get pissed that there is a random audience member coming up and intruding on their sets? Like, I've listened to, okay, this is not necessarily the same thing, but there's a podcast called Why Won't You Date Me? And it's Nicole Byer. She's amazing. She's hilarious. And she's had a lot of like strippers on her podcast. And they've talked about like audience, what's the word? Audience, not respect, but conduct, I guess. And they'd be like, there was one I was listening to, they're saying, "Oh, I've had women who have like clearly come from like pole classes come into the strip club and basically name all of the moves that we're doing." And she said, "You know what?" She said she like took her heels off, placed them in front of the women and was like, "If you want to do it, go do it." Like, I feel like it's so rude and like inappropriate for Blair to go up there and like intrude and interrupt their performance.
Yeah.
But also their whole performance is them just like hip, 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 because clearly there was no music playing. Like, clearly, like when they were filming it, no music was playing.
But most burlesque music kind of has the same beats because it's all very like slow paced for the most part.
I don't know. That's one thing that bugged me. Like, I love this episode so much. I think there's so much good stuff in this episode.
Yeah.
But that bugs me. I'm like, I feel like the performers would get mad.
So I had a couple more notes. I just realized I was going through and like figure out what I'd already talked about and like what I hadn't. So I had a few other notes. So there were so many scenes, like dream sequence scenes of men learning how to have sex. And I was uncomfortable because like most of them were just like, it was so 2007. It was so like poorly shot. Like it gave me a headache to watch them.
Are you talking about the one where he's watching like Nate and Serena have sex
That
and he's
one
like,
and
"Oh, so
the
you do
one
this?
where
Oh, so you do that?"
Claudia and Iz were like judging them.
Judging them.
Yeah, and she was like, I was gonna give you a 3, but since you're a virgin, I gave you an extra point. That made me laugh so hard. And then I have another thing to add.
Wait, then what was that? What was the other joke? It's like, who's something? Did you
Oh,
sleep
so
with him?
he said
Oh, what was
some
it?
people he said some people take sex like seriously, like it's an art and you don't rush art.
Oh,
Like, who's art? Did you sleep with him? So I love
did you? And then it turns into like him. Oh, because that's when he wakes up with the Kama Sutra on his face
yes.
because he's hearing Rufus yelling at Alice and being like, "Did you sleep with him?"
Which I'm gonna say this right now about Rufus. He talks very loud on the phone to his wife, who he's like not with, technically. When his children are within like hearing distance. Like at that point, he didn't realize Dan was home. I will say that. He didn't know Dan was home at that moment. But earlier in the episode, he was like screaming to Allison, knowing that Jenny was right there with her door open in her bedroom. It makes me very uncomfortable. Rufus makes me angry. He makes me uncomfortable. I don't like him. And then I have another thing to add to like the whole Blair and Nate blow up outside of her apartment after the party or whatever. She like is like, why didn't you come to me? Like I would have been there for you. And then like he tells her, he's like, I've tried, but like there's always something that's like pulling your focus. And then she's like, I can't remember what she says, but then she basically is like coming for him. Like she's like kicking him while he's down. Like it's like a whole thing.
Well, the thing is, and it's because I think she's looking for a reason to break up with him. She's like, I've stayed in this because it's what I'm supposed to do. I'm
And she just
supposed
wants
to
to
have this boyfriend.
stray from
But
it.
she's like, she's never really forgiven him for sleeping with Serena.
Mm-hmm.
She isn't
But she
sure
just
she
found out
even
that
like
he is in love with Serena because he told Jenny that.
yeah. And he's like, and now Jenny is like there to is one of the reasons is like that's when because Blair like is like, hey, you dropped this at the party with the bracelet.
Yeah.
And then he's like, if you know anything, tell me. And so like she's already like worried.
Yeah.
And she's like, she's like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And so she finally like breaks up with him. And it's like she was in it because she thought it's what she had to do, but now she's like, oh, I'm free. Like, geez.
Yeah. And oh my god, I forgot about this note. So then there's another note I have about Dan and the whole like sex situation. So him and Serena are like in his bedroom. I don't know if they're fully naked. Like she has a bra on, he's not wearing a shirt. So I don't know like how naked
CW
they
sex.
are. Yeah. So I don't know if they had sex or if this was like before they were about to have sex and they were just like talking and like I couldn't gauge what was going on. But they were like kissing, whatever, and then I think they were about to, and she like looks at her, or he looks at her, and he like clearly is like in love with her. Like it's like a face. And she's like, wait. He's like, what? I thought that like you wanted, like I thought you wanted to do this. Like, do you not want to? And she's like, I'm scared. And he says, of me? And I literally said out loud, I would be.
Oh
And
my
I felt bad
gosh.
because it was such a good moment. I felt bad, but like, I'm sorry, but I also said this out loud. I said I don't like Dan, but I will say this: Penn Badgley's arms in that scene,
So cut.
so
So
good.
cut.
Oh, respectfully, I love it. I love to see
He
it.
was keeping it, he was keeping in shape. He was
Yes,
like, let's do some bicep curls.
yes, and we love
Let's
it.
do some pull-ups.
Yes, he looked amazing. Penn Badgley, if you're listening, respectfully, you look incredible. Anyway, um, and then this wine is like $3, and I'm like feeling it. I've had like 4 sips, and I'm like, maybe that's why it was $4. Anyways, so then my other note that I have 2 more notes about Chuck and Blair. One of them
Okay,
is
go.
when she gets up to go on stage, she goes, "Guard my drink." And I said, not the man that I would
was like,
trust. No.
no, what she was drinking like a flute of champagne. What you do, you just swing it back and then put it down.
Yeah, that'll get you buzzed enough to get up on that stage and do it, while also not
Your
having
face will be flushed.
to guard your drink for you, because Chuck is not the man to guard your drink. And then the last note that I have for this episode, I need to like prepare myself to say this. I would be so embarrassed if I lost my virginity to Chuck Bass in the back of a limo. I just needed to get that out there because, and I know that Blair is embarrassed. I will say that I know that she's embarrassed of it. So like, I don't want to like kick her while she's down, but girl, I'd be embarrassed.
I think at the time, yes, but like knowing their relationship, like how how it goes
Yeah.
and their status, I think
I mean, I'm glad that
like
she ended up,
looking back,
I'm glad
it'll
she
be an
slept with
interesting
it.
like anecdote, a story.
Right. Like, I'm glad that that's who she ended up sleeping with. I'm glad that that's who she ended up losing her virginity to. I will say that. I'm glad that it was Chuck, because that's like end game. But I just, in the back of a, I just, and we all know my feelings about limos. I've discussed it
Yeah.
prior.
Stretch limos. What? Why?
I think they get the tackiest thing. I think it's so freaking tacky. Anyways,
Get a town car.
get a freaking SUV. I don't care. Oh my God, it drives me nuts.
Ugh. And
Anyways,
the last things, yeah, there's two more things I want to point out.
okay.
One is so this whole episode, everything to do with the Archibalds, Anne just doesn't want to face the truth. She's like,
And that's
nope,
actually
my
crazy.
family is perfect. My son, like, if anything is wrong, it's my son. He's a rebellious teenager. And it's like, no, it's actually your husband's issue. And then he punched your son and then went to jail. And now he's apparently getting charged for embezzlement and fraud.
Yep. My favorite thing about
Like,
Anne is she's very much like, okay, so I've also mentioned this before. I'm pretty sure. I could be like mixing it up with my conversations I have on a daily basis. But the Vanderbilts, so Anne and her side of the family, they're based loosely on the Kennedys. I say loosely, but like they're a blatant ripoff of the Kennedys. Um, so they are very much like a Catholic, democratic, like family. Like they're a dynasty. And so it reminds me a lot of my family because we're very Catholic. And my mom and this was how my mom was raised. So like I don't fault her for it, but like at the same time, relax a little bit. My mom and a lot of other women in my mom's side of the family, they always have to have everything look nice to the public. Behind closed doors is a whole nother story. If everything's a mess behind closed doors, they don't want anyone in the public eye to know that. So like we would go to church every weekend. We would always look nice. Not one hair was out of place on our heads. And then as soon as we got out of that church building and in our van, it would be a whole nother story. Like we'd all be a mess. We'd all have like spilled something all over us. Like it would be a train wreck. But like the second you walk into anywhere, you have to look perfect. The second you're getting your photo taken, you have to look perfect. All of that. And I feel like that's how Anne is. I feel like that's how that whole family is. Like one little thing out of place is like a disgrace to the entire family name.
I do find it interesting that they all only have like one child.
Yeah, for the family like that, it is kind of weird. I agree.
Well, not the Vanderwoodsons and the Humphreys. Obviously, they have two.
Right.
But the
Well,
fact
with
that like
Blair,
everyone else is an only child is kind of interesting.
with Blair, it makes sense. Like with the Waldorfs, it makes sense because like her dad was gay, so like that part made sense.
Yeah, that's not a spoiler. They mentioned it in the pilot.
Right. So it's like it's a one and done. Let's have one kid so that people don't get suspicious and then like move on. So like theirs makes more sense. But like yeah, with Anne and Howard, I do find that kind of weird. Like I feel like because I mean, and
I
I
guess
don't know. because whenever we do see Nate's family a lot more, there's a lot of them. So I don't know how many like aunts and uncles.
Because it also feels like when we eventually meet Trip, he feels like he's also an only child, right?
Yeah,
Does he have any
Trip
siblings?
has only child syndrome to a max. Like Trip is big only child.
I guess I understand why like Chuck is an only child if his mother died.
His mother died. Yeah.
Do we know do we know about his mother dying yet?
No. We still
And
think
we
his
still
mom,
think
we still think he has a mom. Like, no.
okay, that's what I was wondering.
Uh,
But so we at this point we're just assuming that his parents are divorced
right.
and we just don't talk about the mom.
But like the thing with Nate's family that I find funny is like you have like the family reunion end of season 1 or in season 2, I can't remember. I think it's in season 2. You have the family reunion and like he's there and there's a lot of people there. And I'm like, well, that's not that weird, like Irish Catholic family, not super strange to have like a whole bunch of people there. Pretty normal.
That's the thing. If they're Irish Catholic families, shouldn't
They should have more
there not be two separate sects of only one of only child families?
Yeah, no, there should be at least 2 or 3 kids per family. Like at least.
That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, and it also could just be like with like Ann and Howard specifically. I don't know about like Tripp's parents because I mean he does radiate only child syndrome, but at the same time we don't know. But like with Ann and Howard, I mean it could just be they had Nate and then they had some issues having like conceiving more kids. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah, absolutely. That is absolutely an option.
so.
100%. We don't know.
And they're
We
not
don't
really
know
the
the inner
adopting
workings
type,
of.
so
Mm-mm. We don't know the inner biological workings of these families. I guess we shouldn't be judging, but it is interesting.
yeah, it's different. I mean, like,
The last note I have on here.
I don't think there's a single like family within my like extended family that doesn't have at least 2 children.
Um,
I mean, there's 4 kids in my family. There's me and my 3 sisters. A lot of my family is like 4 kids or less, or 4 kids as like the like average, pretty much. And then like a lot of my like second cousins are a part of family, 3 kids or so, and then like they're done. Like a lot of my cousins are just like maxing out at 2 or 3.
I'm trying to think like on my mom's side, her oldest brother, 2 kids, and then those kids each had more than one child. Um, and then her other older brother had 2 kids. Her younger brother may have had 3, 2, 3. I've never met him a day in my life. Um, I think he lives in like Illinois. I truly don't know.
Weird.
Um, and then on my dad's side, his older sister had 3 daughters. His other older sister had 4 daughters. Um, his brother didn't have any kids. So I guess the only people are we counting steps and halves?
No, I would say just like I don't know. I don't know.
Because that's a
There's not
question
many of
for
those
some
in
of
my
these people.
family, so I don't really.
Oh, see, my cousin Sarah, she had 1 kid, but then when she got married, he had 2.
There's
So
not a lot of.
steps. And then
There's also in my family. There's not a whole lot of like divorce. Like divorce is low key a very like taboo thing within my extended family.
I wouldn't say there's a lot.
I mean, there
And oh,
is
hold
like
on. And
there are divorces within my family, but it's not like you don't talk about it when it happens.
I've
It's just like
I've so my cousin Amy, she has 1 kid, but her husband has 2 from previous relationships. But like he had never they the people I guess I should say I've never been alive for a divorce in my family. Like my aunt, I think may have gotten divorced when I was like a baby, but I don't know. I guess I was alive when my mom's brother got a divorce, but then we never spoke to them after that. We're very weird. With my family is, I
We
have issues around.
we had like one of my cousins, there was a messy divorce with like one of my few of my first cousins, not within each other, just like a lot of drama surrounding a lot of different things. We're not so Kentucky that we're like my cousins were married. That's not what it is. It was like one of my cousins was engaged, called off the wedding a week before because he found out his cousin was sleeping with his fiance. Like his cousin that had like grown up with him like a brother. Like they were like close. So
Okay, I know I don't know which podcast I've talked about this on.
and
I
then
don't know
and
if it was
he was
this one
already
or the
married.
other one.
My cousin that was sleeping with my cousin's fiance was married and had a kid.
No.
And he lost his damn mind. So like now he doesn't have custody of his
Yeah.
So like his mom has custody, but he doesn't.
That's wild. There's a book, and I've talked about it. I don't know which podcast I've talked about it. It's called The Hating Game. It's getting turned into a movie starring Lucy Hale. I'm very excited about this movie because I love this book.
I've
Anyway,
heard about this.
this is it's kind of a spoiler, but it's fine. So they go to a wedding edit, and she is like, "Hey, you need to tell me if I'm about to like walk into like something." And then he's like, "No, it's fine, whatever." And then she's just like getting stared at by everyone, and she's like eventually finds out that the two people getting married, so the people that are getting married are his brother, and the person that his brother is marrying is his ex-girlfriend. And so she's like, "You let me walk." Anyway, it's a whole thing. But
I just looked it
but
up.
eventually,
Like, this sounds very familiar. And I looked it up, and freaking Austin Stowell is in it. Damon Dono is in it.
is question. Wait, hold on. Who is Damon Dono playing
Danny.
in this movie?
Yeah.
That's not a character I know.
He's playing Danny.
Because the character is Josh. His brother, his name is Patrick.
Patrick is played by Nicholas Baruti. Austin
I don't
Stowell
know who that is.
Joshua Templeman.
Playing Jim. Yes.
I
swear
love
to God, that boy.
I have such a fat crush on
Who
him.
is he?
Okay, so Austin Stowell was in Whiplash.
Never seen it.
Oh, Whiplash is so good. He was in
That's the Damien Chazelle one with Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons, right?
Yes, it's very, very good. He was in this is so embarrassing for me to admit that this is what I know him from. There's a movie called Love and Honor. It's a really bad movie, but it has a really great cast. It has like Liam Hemsworth, Teresa Palmer, Austin Stowell. It's really great cast. So I watched it because I've watched any movie Liam Hemsworth was in ever. I've seen every Liam Hemsworth movie ever. Back in my Hunger Games days. And so yeah, I know him from that. And he was also in Dolphin Tale 2. He played he played like he was a military guy who lost his leg, I think. Like it was a really good character. Loved it for him. He was great. He plays really he's a very good range. I will say that. He has very good range. A lot of his movies.
Well, he's the romantic lead in this movie. It's him and
I will be
Lucy Hale. He and
watching
Lucy
it.
Hale.
Honestly,
I'm so you need to read this book. It is a really good book. It's a really easy read too.
I don't have time to read.
It's a real easy read.
I don't have time
I swear to God, it's such
I read like 3 plays a week for class, and I'm like doing all these assignments. It's crazy. I don't have time.
Okay. But you have to anyway. So this whole book thing, I cannot wait for this movie to come out. I'm so excited. I do feel like some of these books that I read that are like in that kind of genre, it's very much like you're left wanting a little more, but it's fine. Back to Gossip Girl, the last note I have, the single last note I have is Jenny goes to Hudson to bring Allison home, and she goes, "Mom, it's time to come home." How did she get to Hudson without anybody knowing?
She took a train.
Literally nobody. Wait, how did Bart? Hold on, because Rufus is busy with Allison, though I don't remember how that happened.
You mean Lily?
Who did I say? Allison?
Yeah.
Did I say Bart and Allison?
No, you said Rufus and Allison, but Rufus and Lily were
Oh.
together.
Yeah, how did that happen?
She went to do something. He was setting up like an art thing, and she had found out Chuck had told her something about
Oh, because
and she was like mad, so she went to Rufus because she's the whore for Rufus Humphrey, and they like are sitting and watching that like art thing or whatever, and yeah, and then Jenny escapes on the train. She goes to Grand Central and she says, "I'm gonna go to Hudson real quick." Anyways, we need to wrap this up. It's 9:20 and we got a whole other podcast.
we have another podcast to do.
Okay.
Okay.
What's our things, Katie?
The Ultimate Insiders on Instagram and TikTok. I think.
Yes.
I don't know. Something like that.
That's what it is. What are your
And if you want to follow me, hey, I'm Katie. On Instagram at Complete Katie and TikTok at Katiefornia. I'm gonna eventually work on making those one thing, but
here we are.
there's already a Katiefornia on Instagram, and I feel like I don't want to change my. It's a thing. Don't worry about it. That's what it is right now.
I am at It's Jill Hayes on all social media platforms. So.
Sick.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Ugh.